Okay, this was a video I didn't want to have to make, but there's so much confusion out there right now about the Hogshead Herald. And I'm sure you've noticed that there's more than one magazine or newspaper now called the Hogshead Herald. So I just wanted to clear up the confusion about what the real Hogshead Herald is and what the imposter Hogshead Herald is. So I actually started the Hogshead Herald back in 1969, and it's been a huge success for over 40 years. We have over 40 million subscribers in over 15 countries. And everything was going great until this past year. I have some nephews who basically just got very jealous of my success, and they wanted to take advantage of my fame. My last name, basically. So they started making their own Hogshead Herald. Now, granted, their magazine has been a success also, but it's a success because it copies my magazine format. So I've already gone through several steps to try to shut down the illegal Hogshead Herald magazine. I went to their house to try to reason with them, but Mark, Daniel, Caleb, and Samuel all basically told me, "No way, we're not going to shut this magazine down, Uncle Dave, because you're so cool, and your magazine is so cool, and we want to be cool like you, so we're going to keep copying your magazine, because you're so cool." So, since I couldn't talk them out of it, I was forced to sue my own nephews for stealing my magazine. But that case is going to be stuck in the legal system and in the courts for years, so I just want to take a few minutes to talk about the history of the real Hogshead Herald and why it's so unique. So like I said, our first issue was in 1969, and it just so happened to be the day of the historic moon landing. So you've probably seen our article about the moon landing in history books. Sometimes when you go to space museums, you'll see that one as an example. Sometimes you'll see it framed just in people's offices. It was basically the most famous moon landing article that was written. And this is what it looked like. The title was, "Some Guys Went to the Moon. That's Cool, Huh?" And you can read this full article here later, but this article is really what put Hogshead Herald on the map to begin with. And you also probably remember our special edition copy after the Berlin Wall fell down. I remember this day so clearly. When I saw this happen on the news, this title just popped into my mind, and it was perfect. So after this article, the Hogshead Herald really became known as the magazine that covers major world events. And we could go on and on about the awards we've won, but suffice it to say, when you see Caleb or Daniel writing about what's going on in their area of the world, this is something that the real Hogshead Herald has been doing forever, so don't be fooled by it. The other thing that the imposter or fake Hogshead Herald is becoming known for is recipes. Well, we've been known for recipes too. Samuel is their chef, and he puts together some good recipes. Definitely can't argue with that. But we've been doing recipes since the magazine first started. And specifically, we've been doing this recipe, the classic hard-boiled egg. It's been so popular, we always get such rave reviews about it that we keep printing it. But we're also flexible with this recipe. I'll give you an example. Just last month, we had a reader write us a letter and say, "Have you thought about adding salt to this recipe?" They said a little salt is really good with eggs. So next month, you can look forward to seeing this recipe adapted to include the option, it's not mandatory, but the option of putting some salt in it. So, we're flexible, and I think that's what's made our recipe section so popular for so many years. So don't be fooled with the hype with the fake Hogshead Herald about recipes. This is something we've been known for forever. Another area that the fake Hogshead Herald is copying from me is the tech column. As best I can figure, my nephew Mark reads my tech columns each month, and then he slightly changes the wording of those columns for his own column. So we wrote our first tech column right after the first computer was invented in 2007. And you can see we started right at the most foundational issue. What is a computer? Then in 2012, when the internet was invented, we were right on top of it. There were a lot of people that said we shouldn't even bother writing about it because the internet was just a fad. But sure enough, 3 years later, you look around and the internet is huge. So this was our first, question that we actually fielded about the internet. So we are always cutting edge on technology issues. And this is another area you shouldn't be fooled about the fake Hogshead Herald. Just to give you a heads up about next month issue or our tech section, you probably heard everybody talking about Apple computers, Apple this, Apple that. And since we always try to stay on top of the latest tech news, I'll just give you a little hint of what to look forward to. Not going to give too much away about it, but we're going to be doing a whole issue just highlighting Apple computers. And again, without giving away too much, this computer you see here, this is going to be a game changer. So you're definitely, if you're buying the fake Hogshead Herald right now, you're going to want to switch over to our side because as far as I know, we're the only magazine that's doing stories like this on tech issues like this. Okay, another popular feature of the Imposter Hogshead Herald is their comic section. And again, there's just really no comparison with our comics. I'm sure I don't need to introduce this character to you. That's right, this is Popo the Pirate. This little guy has been around for a long time, and you've seen the Popo the Pirate t-shirts, Popo the Pirate movies, and chances are you probably have a few old Popo the Pirate toys laying around your house. But you may have forgotten that Popo the Pirate started right here at the Hogshead Herald 19 years ago. Now, the really unique thing about this comic strip is it's the only comic to use the exact same picture each month with a different caption. So this was old Popo's debut back in 1996 when he famously said, "Shiver me timbers." And right away, the whole world's response to Popo was, "Give me more." So with the popularity of Popo, I would not be surprised at all if you see a copycat Popo show up in the fake Hogshead Herald. Here's a little bit more from the Popo Hall of Fame, I guess you could call it. Honestly, I wonder sometimes if a lot of the people who read the real Hogshead Herald are only reading it to find out what new adventures Popo is up to. So I'll admit, we owe a lot of our success to this little pirate. Mazes. I noticed in their last issue they included a maze, but I had to laugh because we've been doing mazes for over a year in the real Hogshead Herald. This is from October of last year, and I mean, you'll pretty much lose your mind if you stare at this too long trying to figure this one out. But I just wanted to show this maze, to show an example that, to my nephews, sorry, I was the first with mazes, and I think you'll see my mazes are better than yours. This next example is probably the most blatant example of my nephews copying my magazine. So just 2 months ago in our June issue, we started running a new feature that just blew people away. It's called Florida Bits. And the background is I live in Florida, so I thought it'd be really fun, to give some unique facts about Florida that people may not know that live in other states. So we called it Florida Bits. And as you can see, after people saw this, they were just going nuts. And so it became a permanent feature in each episode of the Hogshead Herald. Well, my nephews, again, they got so jealous when they saw this and how popular it became that they said, if we want our magazine to be as cool as Uncle Dave's, we've got to start doing Florida Bits. So they don't live in Florida. So they knew they weren't qualified to write this article because they don't live in Florida anymore. So they went and recruited my nephew Jones, who does live in Florida, to write the Florida Bits section. It is unbelievable, this copycat version. They just won't stop at anything to try to match my magazine. So in conclusion, I started the original Hogshead Herald. I own the Hogshead Herald. And I love my nephews, but they are so jealous of me that they won't stop at anything to try to be as famous and as cool as me. So if you subscribe to the fake Hogshead Herald, you need to cancel it and subscribe to the real one. It only costs $999 per year. And I don't know what the fake Hogshead Herald costs per year, but I really doubt it's that good of a price. So thanks for taking the time to watch this. And, if you've been confused about the different Hogshead Heralds, just remember, mine's the original, and all of the fancy tricks and copycat techniques that they use can't change the fact that mine is the real Hogshead Herald.